a lot of configurations, lot of figures. But what are the alternatives we used for? We used for charts and models, simulators, ethically sourced animal cadavers and tissues, film and video, clinical work with animal patients and volunteers. And obviously, the latest one is the application of wave, which is obviously transformed into virtual laboratory for the PG students. What we are showing before the students while conducting practicals, I'm showing you three figures. In the left, the internal anatomy of a mammal, that is mouse. While we are showing the charts and models instead of doing practicals, we may show detail this type of charts and models. In the left, by showing these charts and models, we may show that internal anatomy of mice. And in the right, we may show the different bones of birds and human beings. Where is humerus, where is radius, where is ulna, where is carpal, where is metacarpal, where is phalanges. And you may show by these figures, or students may be illuminated by these figures, that this is called as humerus. This is called as carpal. This is called as phalanges or ulna or radius. And the third figure in the chart, we are showing while conducting different aspects of practical classes in endocrinology, where from the follicular stimulating hormone is originated, what is its mode of function, and what type of function it performs within the body of this particular animal. So these are the charts and models we may show the students, but student could not be enriched with these charts models. So we have to go to the real picture of the practical classes by showing the virtual laboratory. Now I come into what is virtual laboratory. It is a playground for experimentation. It is a playground for experimentation, as I may say that virtual laboratory is an interactive environment for creating and conducting simulated experiments. Why I am calling this as the playground for experimentation? We may do anything. We may do anything with this virtual laboratory. It consists of domain-dependent simulation programs, experimental units called objects that encompass data files, tools that operate on these objects. But I may recall, it is a heterogeneous distributed environment which allows a group of scientists from different sites to work on on a particular project. Why I am calling this a particular project and different scientists are engaged to do this work? If we show the digestive system of frog, different teachers show different style for cutting this particular frog and showing its internal anatomy. So it is a heterogeneous distributed environment, and as in all other laboratories, the equipment and techniques are specific for a given field of activity. Despite some interrelations with tele-immersive applications, The virtual laboratory does not presume the need of sharing the working environment, and this is virtual laboratory. Just I will give some information of a virtual laboratory. As you all are aware that I'll just read out. I do not explain as because I have to show a lot of things in my lecture within this 1 hour of stipulated time. Don't feeling bored if I take 5 to 10 minutes more as per the requirement for the lecture. But while going to the attributes of virtual laboratory, a virtual classroom is needed, which is an integral part. And a virtual classroom is a mode of imparting education for conducting live classroom like sessions over the internet. The students and tutors can communicate to each other using voice, video chats, and whiteboard tool. It is a web-based groupware environment designed to support synchronized learning. Almost everything that can be done in a real classroom can be done in a virtual classroom. Moreover, the whole classroom session can be recorded and made available for the later review. Computer and headset equipped with a microphone are the most important components of a virtual classroom. As the class takes place in real time, the instructor and all the students attend classes at set times and dates. Students can raise their virtual hand to ask questions and interact with fellow students. A virtual classroom almost mimic a traditional classroom. It is the purview of the teachers to make an environment which may mimic a traditional classroom. Otherwise, the students may not be interested to attend your class, particularly practical class. Student can ask questions, draw on the whiteboard, and participate actively. The tools allow for shared access to teaching material and support voice-based interaction. Virtual classroom session portrays the environment created by the teacher by a teacher in the conventional classroom. So the role of teacher is very much important. We, although we are doing the thing in a virtual mode, while showing the different dissection, different uh, other things, maybe ecology, maybe parasitology, maybe biochemistry, I will show you. But the role of teacher is important. The function or role of teachers could not be ignored. But going to the detail, just I'll just read the slides that what is the history behind virtual learning. The foundation of virtual learning date back in 1997, and the first virtual laboratory you may we are passing 2020. But first virtual laboratory was conceived for physiology in 1997, and their main objective was to develop the technological prerequisites of physiological research in the 19th century. A series of modifications was made in the concept in 1998, followed by the publication of CD-ROM in 1990. The area of focus was gradually shifted from physiology to general life sciences, today's life sciences. And you may be glad to know that all the virtual classroom concept perceived the faculties of arts and literatures, they are taking the advantages of this virtual laboratory, and this concept was presented at the conferences, namely using the World Wide Web for historical research in science and technology. This is the information. As a student of science, We have to know the history of virtual learning as well as virtual laboratory. Without knowing the history, we may not perform as desired by the students. In 2000, it became a part of the research project, the experimentalization of life, funded by the Volkswagen Foundation. And finally, virtual laboratory in the forefront in the web in 2002. And I may give you the information that virtual learning came into the forefront in the web, although in 2002, but virtual learning is now enlisted as a journal under the ISSN number 188664784 since 2018, which is an important part. Why I am giving this information before you? As because we may go through this particular journal as well as subscribe this particular journal and gather a lot of knowledge. Here, why do you need virtual learning? It supports online classes for distance learning and remote education. It brings various academic faculties and stalwarts under a common umbrella for improving access to advanced educational experiences. It facilitates in organizing and participating seminar workshops, what we are doing now through video conferencing. Provide ready access to persons with disabilities and living in remote areas for educational resources. It supports self-directed learning. Students can study independently in their own time at their own place and pace using course materials. The attendance for distance education open university courses in a grave problem. In virtual study, students can start and complete their courses at any time. Look at the pictorial representation of a virtual classroom. What are the components attached with this virtual classroom? These are the synchronized learning, audio video support, sessions recording, sharing screen on with material with students, whiteboard for work, regular work, multi-level feedback mechanism, live technological support, and option to raise hands for asking queries. Look at this slide. We are providing two rooms. One is our anchor room, which will be monitored by the teacher itself. And another is the satellite room, and both these rooms are connected by via internet. In a country like India, as we are facing problem in our state also, possibly you may facing this problem. Everybody do not have this access of internet in their home. In our state, I know the situation while conducting practical or theoretical class online classes. A student traveled 20 miles from his residence to get access from internet. So this is a problem although, but this concept of virtual laboratory is that anchor room provided with the teacher module, which I will show later, and another is satellite room. And this concept of this virtual, basic concept of this virtual laboratory is like that. As I said, that today's topic of the lecture is virtual laboratory. A need of the time, I said earlier, while doing, uh, while I'm going in detail of this talk, that 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 it is the need of, for not the time, not particular this time, this pandemic, it will be rather essential for all time. Students who stay far away from institute and can take part in one-side courses in traditional classroom and laboratory settings are benefited through virtual learning. And virtual learning provides a common platform to the students through amalgamation of knowledge and hypermedia systems. In the field of science, the virtual laboratory provides multi-platform access, non-reliance or specified classroom saving the teaching space, off-campus delivery, hypertext facilities with structured guidance, ability to offer students choice of resources and students feedback using online forms. And this virtual laboratory can be designed to enable distant learners to receive specific assignments and to submit their completed assignments in various formats. It also helps to receive marked and annotated assignments from their home personal computer or from the institute network, reducing the burden of tracking students' attendance. But we may remember the cost effectiveness is important, and many new courses are planned by various academic institutes to increase their intake of students. This does not incur any additional expenditure and does not require any additional increase in staff numbers on the part of the institution. Students do not have to travel from their home or have to rent apartments, hostels, or mess at any site. And in service students can continue their job and study simultaneously due to flexibility in virtual laboratory and web access for the students to all the materials presented for the completion of the course. Now, just see the figure. This is a representation of heart of mamma. And this virtual dissection is obviously an alternative of biology or biology classes. While we are showing this particular figure, the heart of the mammal, any mammal, any particular animal, there are no better ways to learn the internal anatomical structures of animals, including humans, without dissections. From this figure, you may show this is the right auricle, this is the right ventricle, this is the left auricle, this is the left ventricle. And without cutting this heart, we may not describe the students what is lying within the heart. And for many people, the dissection of live organism is repulsive. And virtual dissections are a great way for students to improve their biological and anatomical knowledge without the mess on the dissection table. Don't go in detail to online dissections, but there are various virtual tools that help students and researchers to understand the structures and functions of body parts without actually cutting through any tissue. And online dissection programs are 3D stimulators of anatomy and physiology. They provide images and step-by-step instructions. Some have diagrams that display certain anatomical structures. And virtual dissection allows the students to dissect repeatedly any body stream, unlike the actual process, where materials have to be discarded after each session. Just go to this pictorial outlook. We are giving you thin figures. In the left, there is the internal anatomical structures of the frog while we are doing frog dissection. How to represent, how we are representing this practical classes. Just look at the tools and instruction in the left of the dissection. A frog, or for dissecting a frog, the frog is lying within the tray and immersed in the water. And the tools required: pins, markers, scissors, scalpels, forceps. What teacher will instruct the students? I'm giving just one slide. This is step 3, instructions. Instructions is incision of skin. As you may know, that the vertebrate will dissect ventrally. So the instructions given for the students that select the scissors from the tools. Make an incision along the dotted line all the way up to the specimen's chin. Then make sidewise incision above the hind limbs. Next, make sideways incision above the forelimbs. So this is the dissection while conducting the digestive system of frog. And finally, preparing all the slides and mark them by instruction 1 or step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And in a final slide, you may show the virtual frog dissection and look at these anatomical structures, digestive system of frog. I'll show you the video where dissection is carrying on in cockroach, in a fish, and in a mammal. I'll show you, and you may give this representation. You may show this video also to the students for doing practical classes in virtual laboratory. But this is the virtual frog dissection. In the previous slide, I showed you that the step 3, there are 5 steps for conducting virtual frog dissection. And I showed you the step 3 in the previous slide, just this slide. This is the instruction. What the tools required, how you are giving incision to the frog ventrally, and giving the instruction thoroughly within the slide. And this is the dissection of mouse showing internal anatomy. I don't go detail of this particular slides, but in the same way as we did for this practical in frog, we do the same thing. We are performing the almost same thing while showing the internal anatomy of mouse. What are the advantages of online dissections? First one, it will reduce the risk associated with shipping precious specimens from one lab to another. Number two, students belonging to different religion can avoid real dissections because of ethical issues. It is important while preparing the slides. I thought that I may not include this point, but I may rather thought that this point may be included, that students belonging to different religion can avoid real dissections because of ethical issues. I may not describe this line. And virtual dissection allows students to learn more efficiently without sacrificing the life of endangered animals and without facing repulsive smell and mess created by a real life dissection, as UGC recommended in its immediate actions part. As I as I as I described in my third slide possibly. Now I am going to not keeping our eyes within particular dissection part. Virtual microscopy is now gaining its attention while conducting practical in virtual laboratory concept. And this virtual microscopy has become an important tool in learning and teaching, especially in the discipline of histology and pathology. At the last, you may see that I am giving you the site http www.path.uiowa.edu virtual slides box. and the University of Iowa successfully implemented the virtual microscopy support, learning, and teaching. With the support of the US National Library of Medicine, Professor Fred D. developed the virtual slide boxes of histology and histopathology, since which is available, as I said, in the following website. This development of microscopy is the transverse section of a mammalian endocrine tissue. And this particular tissue may be shown to the student by this virtual laboratory. This is this, and this is the part of this particular endocrine glands. And the flash-based virtual sites viewer permits the user to click and drag. I'll show you just a few slides later. And zoom in on the image, thus simulating the use of a real microscope exactly as in other viewers' epilepsy. Just
हॅलो, आवाज येत नाही. हॅलो, डॉक्टर कांबळे अनम्यूट करा. हॅलो,
आवाज येतोय का सर्वांना?
हो हो.